rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Everything shall remain. Roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Everything will change, nothing stays the same, and through it all my roots shall remain. Rooted like a tree, roots down deep, rooted like a tree, rooted in the mystery.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in. So today we have a special guest, my brother, one of my big brothers, somebody that was there, made me a made man, right? Um, it's gonna be a great interview. We're gonna have Red Crane in the background. Uncle Pa gonna join us. I do have the other screens. Let's see. I'm gonna bring up the other screens. Let me add everybody in here. Give me one moment. So we got Red Crane, and on the stage now we have brother Asar. Asar, what's going on with you, family?
Man, what's going on, brother Alphonse? It's good to be here, man. Glad we could finally put something together, man.
For sure, everything. I don't know if you are you on the computer right now?
Yeah, I'm on the computer.
Um,
Was it
if
showing
you go ahead.
was it showing on your end?
Oh no, it's showing us. I see you. I view you, but you can share this stream to your platform so others on your side can watch too, and it's
Okay.
gonna show up as a live video. If you look to the right of your screen,
Okay.
um, or if you click share, it should allow you to send to your destination.
Yeah, it has a little thing stream this to your audience. So yeah.
Facts. Go ahead and do that.
All right.
So for those who are watching, please do leave a like and share this video to one person so this information can get out. Um, a little surface information. So we're going to be talking about the Green Fire. This is my second book, The Green Fire Volume 2. This can be purchased on Amazon right now. If I'm not mistaken, this one, the hardcover is actually, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably $30, and the paperback is 25. So if you can go on Amazon, type in the Green Fire Volume 2. This is basically what we're going to be building on. Um, and I'll expound on some things that that some may need more detail. Greetings to everyone in the chat. Peace, family. What's going on with you? And thank you for all the support, bro. Um, Especially being that I have to rebuild the platform because all of my social medias were taken. That's a good thing they didn't take this YouTube. So thank you for the support and helping me start to run that back up.
Man, no doubt, bro. Yeah, I
Let me
mean,
see.
the stuff you talk about, I mean, it bleeds into the same things that I discuss on mine. So, I mean, iron sharpens iron. I'm just glad I could be a part of it, bro.
Did you share that link?
Yeah, I'm finishing the last little touches on it. There we go. All right, there we go. That should be it.
Hiyoko, yeah, yeah. Hey, mama.
Oh, there we go.
Let's see.
Is that it?
Let's see. So while you are getting that right,
All right.
mate, for the no one on my platform knows your face. So if
Uh,
you want to introduce yourself, and let us know what you do on your platform and some things you may do in the community. Let us know who you are.
wow. Yeah, I'm Brother Asare, out of Jacksonville, Florida. On my platform, it's supplementary material for a book called True Master. True Master is a sort of a correspondence system that goes with that comes out of a little known system called the experiential. So it's kind of going into a lot of your concepts, kind of shamanic concepts, but it gets into the practical because you can filter situations through it where you can solve problems easier and stuff like that. So basically, if you're good at something, you can take that same information and that same gift or whatever case may be and apply it in a universal kind of format or whatever and find solutions to other areas of your life. So, I
So
mean,
your book, is it available on Amazon or is it available for purchase right now?
yeah, it's 3 volumes of it. Volume 1, self to self. Volume 2, self to others, and Volume 3, others to self. All of that's available on Amazon. So yeah.
Let's see. Okay. 2 seconds. I'm gonna switch the controls. Hiyoko Reese, what's going on with you, fam? Let me switch these controls real quick so I can allow the people to see what they're looking for, what they will be looking for. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so here's the cover of book 1. Okay, yeah. I'm actually trying to pull up the your page so I can show what we're looking at. Okay, I know what's going on. I have to add that back to the stage or add it back to the screen. Um And then let me pull you off the solo layout. See what we working. Okay. Let me try this one more time. Hold on. I like the artwork on the cover too. Um, I definitely like the artwork on the cover. The computer slowed down. I'm outside.
Appreciate that,
Let
bro.
me get us back right.
That's the what it is. It's a little spit off for the sun card on the from the tarot deck. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, you know, it's a black baby in the or a melanated baby in the center with a big afro. You know, being people of the sun. You know how that go. So
Right. Actual facts.
yeah, yeah.
Let's try this one more time. Add new P to the stage. And we're going to share. Hold on. Share screen. I'll pull them back up. Let's see. And then we'll get started. For some reason,
And
AT&T
then we'll
acting
get started. For some reason,
AT&T acting a
AT&T
little
acting
weird. They got my voice
AT&T
backed
acting a
up.
little weird. They got my voice back up.
So what I'll do is I'll pull that up in a moment.
So what I'll do is I'll pull
I'll
that
pull
up
that
in a
up in a
moment.
moment. Let me
I'll pull that up in a moment. Let me
reset this laptop. Okay. Let's see. Can y'all hear me? Let me get a mic check. Can y'all hear me?
We still hear you, bro.
All
Yeah.
right. I'm gonna add Pa in here. So we could start the build. Being that I can't pull that up at the moment. I will leave a link in the comments for you all who would be interested in that. Especially you all who have some inner work to do. So Bart, talk to me.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about the green fire,
Oh yeah.
especially to your audience. You wanted to get me live in the flesh.
Yeah, man.
I'm right here. So let's
Okay. Hey
talk to
man,
me.
it's an honor and a privilege to you know, go through your work. I think you laid down some very interesting and some interesting history and kind of some missing pieces. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just to start it off, bro. Just the various members on the panel, bro. We can just, you know, get who we speaking to, and you know, y'all connection to the you know, the Guale culture, and then we'll get right into it.
Oh yeah, so for my panel now that I have two of the three up here,
Okay.
Crane and Pa, y'all can introduce yourself too, bro. This is Bob. Pa, you wasn't here earlier, but y'all can free y'all mic if y'all available.
Iyoko nephew.
Hiyoko Nibi.
Itzumukula de Samuchi. Yati. Tatupa. Patakalago. Kawatali.
Yes,
Bimeku
sir.
Alachi.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so I just said that who I am. I gave him my name, my clan, and my village. You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy to be on the panel once again, you know, with my nephews and everything. We dropping it like it's hot, fresh out the grease for
Yes, sir.
2025, keeping it alive, you heard me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, cuz go ahead. I know you and Bob never met before, so if you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Where he at? Crane. Oh, Crane probably cutting right now. That's probably why he got his mic muted up. But
Okay.
that Red Crane is our big medicine man and our Mercy Cacique, right? He's our Mercy leader or chief.
Okay.
Um and he has some works that will be released pretty soon. He's working on a medicine book is actually complete. He's just waiting on me. So the contributor, me, we just missing my part, right?
Okay.
But he has works of his own. Um, he's initiated, right? And he's a master of the system that he was initiated to. He's a healer. That's most important. He's a healer. And on both sides of it, he not to be played with. That's my big cousin. We share a grandfather, though matrilineally we are of different families, right? So that's who you have. You have my cousin, which is our medicine man, and you also have my uncle, which is the big medicine man for the Yamasi Seminole Nation,
Okay.
who I actually happen to share a clan with. So
Okay.
most deaf.
All right, bro. So I was just gonna kind of just get into some of this. I mean, like I said, I talked about a couple of little items and things or whatever. In the few pieces I skimmed on your book and everything like that. Let's see. Could you share some of the, let's say, the traditional origin stories or accounts of how the people came to be in this territory? I know it's known as Turtle Island. I know it's a whole story in regards to that. I know the tenure. I know when you spoke about the 50,000 year tenure of the Guale in North America. I know that was a big deal. I know as far as a lot of us who do research or whatever, that puts them in the same space as far as they give extensive origins as far as pre-dynastic Egypt and stuff like that. So it's in that same, it shows that people were here simultaneously. So that's an interesting piece.
Right.
Could y'all go into some of that origin story?
I'll say this, right? I'll give you what is written.
Okay.
And this is something that I actually put out. I have one of the creation and migration stories placed. So depending on your band, right? Your band could have come out of the water. It could have come when there was a time of fire. You have those who came out of the earth, and you have those that come down from the sky. So depending on which band, the story, you know how it is in the now, the story will stay the same, but the deity will change, right?
Yeah.
Or the name of the people will change, but the story, the basis of the story stays. So when being a child of the sun, right?
Gotcha.
And again, depending, it could be masculine or feminine. But in our story, the sun was feminine or is feminine. So there was a time where when she was on her cycle, a blood fell, right? Um, and again, depending on the story, the moon could be the woman, and the moon's blood could have fallen, and
Gotcha.
the sun could have taken that blood and raised it to be a child, right? And the name that was given to these people were the children of the sun, or that physical deity. And from that, they were taught ceremony, just to simplify it.
Gotcha.
Now, when we talk about placement, from what my uncle told me and is on my YouTube, he say, God made it that way. Since the beginning of time, we've always had family, Indian family in Georgia. And some people would be like, what? But what? That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whoa, this is making sense. So what was being explained is, and a lot of people have this story. And I said, it's not out of the Mississippi, but we call it out of the Ogeechee.
Okay.
Which is that particular area was not the same as it was in the ancient world, right? Which we've shown before. But those who've come out of the water came out of the water there and then began to branch off. Those who are said to come down from the sky would have landed in the waters and or on the land and then branched off. But all of these people considered themselves to be people of the same deities, right?
Yes.
Like Padnataru, right? It's like, okay, well, I could deal with this deity, but they all are in the same congregation. So that's the basis of the creation and the migration stories, from the people going from the coast into the interior, into the Caribs in South America, across the Mississippi, into, you know what I'm saying, into the west and up to the north. That's our story, as opposed to where you have those like the Muscogi, whose stories say they come from the west and traveled to the east, or the Yama, where say, well, they came from South America and traveled up to the north, right?
Gotcha.
I have a question real quick. It says, is that why they say we always existed in the sky, the water and in the sky? Can be, right? But when we say us, we're talking about those before us physically. So yes, we do have ancestors that existed as sky beings and those in the water. And where Reese is going is, before there was a physical land, these beings already existed. The physical land is the middle ground, which was created by the deities to allow those in the sky to rest, and to allow the, certain fish to be able to come upon the land and revolve into other things. So all of this is a part of the creation and migration stories. So yeah, great questions, both of those.
Yeah, that is interesting, because it goes back into a time we always get these flood stories and stuff like that. So those beings coming out of the water, that's always an interesting thing. You see what I'm saying? Let me see here. I know some of this you go into in your book. Let's say like some of the earliest settlements. You know what I mean? The ways of life. You know what I mean? That might be kind of notable and kind of distinguish the Guale apart. You know what I mean?
Apart from who exactly?
Let's say I know there's a lot of times when people talk about American Indians or what have you, a lot of people are governed by a lot of these movies that we see. You know what I mean? Tonto, Lone Ranger, and all this,
Right.
Hollywood propaganda or whatever the case may be. In my research, you have the mound builders, your Guale, your Mississippians, and all that, and then you have the red Native Americans. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, perfect. I got you.
Yeah.
I view where we going with it.
Yeah.
I view where we going. So okay. I'll explain it this way. You have many groups of mound builders, right? Mound builders is just it's another cloak term.
Gotcha.
And then you have different style mounds, because everybody didn't build the same style. Everyone didn't use the same material. They didn't all mean the same thing. Some were temples, some were mortuary, some were effigy, right? Some were aligned with specific stars or constellations, right? So when you have the coastal Wali, and this is why I use the word Wali in the first chapter, is because we're dealing with the edge. We're dealing with the coast of West Florida and East Florida, and we're dealing with the coast of Georgia, Carolina, Virginia. We're only dealing with the coast, right? So that's why it's called Wali. The word Wali means the border or the edge. So we're talking about how the Wali, their culture, started to migrate into the interior or move into the interior. Though there are people already there are certain things that they picked up. For instance, pottery style, right? San Marcos pottery is something that they've picked up. And you have plenty pre-depth fort style pottery types, which is why we push the date for the depth fort pottery back, right? The Wali didn't use maize. Maize doesn't originate in the Southeast. So obviously it's a crop that they picked up, which separated them from the Yama, right? Which are the Mississippians. The Wali, they were darker and more robust than those who migrated over, like the Lenape.
Gotcha.
But though they were darker and more robust than the Lenape, the Yama were darker skinned than the Wali, the coastal people.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's little things like that that separates them. Let's say like being sedentary. The Wali, they eventually started to move less once they started to deal with the Yamasi. So once they got maize, and this is a boom. This is like, you know what I'm saying? This everything starting to blow up because you have a crop that you can use damn near year round. It grows in the sand, it grows in the clay. So now people don't have to move as much. This is why when you read the book, you like, wait, if maize deteriorated the Guale like that so much, why did they start to have less arthritis? This is a question one should ask, and the answer is they became more stationary. They weren't moving from the interior to the coast. They didn't have to go chase down, or they didn't have to go. The women didn't have to go to the field and grab the roots and grab the plants and all of this different. They weren't agriculturalists. So once agriculture came and they can just plant the maize and plant the rice and plant the cotton, they good for the rest of the year. You get where I'm going? Gotcha. So that was taking on those things is something that changed Wale culture or Wali culture into the Shawanoki culture, right? Mm-hmm. This is when we get the South. So not only do you have the Wali or the coastal people and those in the interior, so all of the Iba'a, the original people in North America, you now have trader groups or those who are doing business coming up from South America through the Caribs and then coming up through Florida, and these became known as our Temuco speakers today. But you also have the Yama that were here or made a similar voyage, but they landed in Peninsula Florida. This is why Peninsula Florida was one of the first places in east of the Mississippi to actually have maize, right? Talk to me. Go ahead. Talk to me.
That was going to be a later question. I was going to ask about that because I know you and I was chopping it up on a previous occasion, and I know you were telling me about the Out of Florida, that paper, Out of Florida, the South American Origin Archaic Caribbean Settlement. I know you're getting into a little bit of that right now. I was going into some of that, and into some of what you're saying about how they canoes, the advent of canoes and how canoes were ancient. They would talk about some of the dates that they developed canoes and stuff like that. 5,000 BC, 7,000 BC,
right?
Like and they were saying that when the people were talking about how they got there, they didn't factor in the fact that they were sailing. So I mean, if you want to talk about that, that was going to be a question anyway. So, however,
perfect. So, I'll tie it in.
Okay.
Let me open this back up. I'll tie it in. So, what we usually hear, peace, what's going on, Hiyoko? What we usually hear is that people traveled from South America into North America, right? Or the Southeast. But what's been studied in that particular work is the fact that many of the trees used in these canoes found originate here. They aren't found down there. Okay. So this is confusing the anthropologists. They like, wait, if these trees are found in Florida and these are found in Ohio, how in the hell did it get all the way to Hispaniola or Haiti, right? Or Dominican Republic or Cuba, Trinidad? These are places that we've seen in the actual work.
Yeah.
The next question the anthropologists asked is, well, why did we do some genetic work on women out of South Carolina and in the Low Country, and they have the same matrilineal haplogroup as tribal people in South America and the Caribs? But these people are not known to have lived in South America and the Caribs. So being able to trace the mitochondrial lineage, they've traced certain South American peoples back to the Southeast, which changes everything.
Change the whole paradigm.
Because now when you think, well, this language must have traveled up and these people adopted it, now there's a chance that that language or parts of that language went down and then came back up as different dialects of this language, right? So this is their confusion. Now, with what we know, you have the Iba'a, you have the Yama, and you have the people who spoke the traders' Creole or these different languages from Colombia, which they call the Temuco today.
Okay.
These people are the ones that predate the Mississippian migration, right? So that pre 1000 AD or CE, right? That pre 900 AD or CE,
gotcha.
These people are already here. It was around that time that the new faces came in that looked slightly different than you and I, right? But though they look slightly different, they shared matrilineal ancestors with the two groups, the Yama and the Temuco, who had migrated to North America. So there's eventually a family tie, you get me,
Yeah.
between those groups during the Soanoke era, which transferred into that Mississippian era, right? When you get the abundance of maize, when you have the green corn ceremony or festival, the Tosutani Wano Yada'a, or the Brothers of the Pipe, right?
Gotcha.
The Yuchi, the Zoya. The roots of these groups came out of Mexico. The Temple of the Sun is theirs. This is why the Yamasi Seminole have the Temple of the Sun on their logo. This is why Cahokia resembles the Temple of the Sun. These were the builders and the priests that united the East, that united everything, or the majority of everything east of the Mississippian ceremony. So it was like a religious, you know what I'm saying, like a religion. It was like a religion mixed with business, because for each major commodity, they had a different language. So
Okay.
when it came for maize, you had Yama. When it came for salt, you had Zoya, or the language of the Yuchi, right? So these languages that we're attributing to groups of people were actually built for trade, right? So now you have 5 groups. You have your Iba'a, you have your Yama, your Temuco, you have your incoming Muscogi, and you have your Lenape. Those were the branches that the Europeans found at contact. Then they became all these little names, right? Then they became the Guale and the Iroquois Confederacy. That's some shit Europeans created, right? The Creek Confederacy, the Yamasi Confederacy, all of this, like the Guale, right? All of that, Mocoma, Temuco, all of that is European, right?
Really?
That's at contact, these people started to exist. Before contact, they were something completely, you know what I mean? It was something different going on.
Wow. And when you say contact, like I was talking about before, a lot of this large expanse of time that the Guale and the various other civilizations that existed in this place or whatever, its time frames are divided into various eras as well, like how you were saying. And the era in which the Europeans got there, that was the Mississippian era. Am I correct?
Facts.
Yeah.
So that is why they base everything off maize or maize agriculture. If you study works like you have like bioarch, so bioarchaeology of St. Catherine's Island,
Gotcha.
or the anthropology of St. Catherine's Island, they basically explain that the difference between the Iba'a and the Guale, and this is something we've been explaining for a few years, and especially before I printed this out, is that you have some Wali that adopted maize and became a part of the Mississippian culture.
Okay.
But that wasn't everybody, nor was it a majority. So what anthropologists say is, okay, well, at this time, and they give a date, they say like 1150 CE, Common Era, that many of these people began to adopt maize agriculture. Though they didn't do it at the same percentage as people like the Appalachian, they still would be considered Mississippians. Now, what makes someone Mississippian?
Okay.
Maize, cotton, and platform mounds. So before, as the people had mounds, their mounds weren't as large as they were until groups of Yama came in and showed people how to raise their structures up. Because they were, especially those on the coast, they weren't using the same form of alchemy, right? They had sand mounds, you had clay mounds, but when certain people got to Central America and taught a certain science,
Gotcha.
they were able to create their own stone like granite. And this is a science that was brought over to teach people how to raise their current mounds with the earth, right? With the earth that they had, whether it was dirt, clay, or sand. So that's what separated the Mississippians from the pre-Mississippian groups that lived in like a Kolamoki in the west side of Georgia, or on
Gotcha.
the east side of Georgia, you have like the Irene Mound sites, which are mortuary sites. So you will be able to see the difference in time period on how they were actually built. So you start to see a fusion of certain aspects of the culture, from building, agriculture, and as far as other things in the economy like pottery. So now pottery in a way become more fancy because you have so many groups attributing to the art that now it looks it's the relics are basically, the relics are beautiful. They're stronger than what they were before. Um and eventually um the fusion between the two was the glass and the obsidian, right?
Okay.
You have obsidian found in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, but these people on the coast was in a way making their own by using fire. So they was melting the sand and making their own glass. These were the things that they were using for arrows and pottery, things like that. And then they began to fuse it. So now you have needles. So now someone can actually sit there and carve, you know what I'm saying? Instead of pressing it, they
Gotcha.
can use their hand calligraphy. Now you have actual calligraphy. Instead of saying, we're going to use incense, right? We're going to use this leaf pattern and we're going to stamp it, right? Now we have needles. And then when they merge, you have needle and thread, because you have a people that have cotton, right? And silk, but another people who was using bone and other things, now they have a better thread, right? So the cultures coming together for the economy was a great thing. It was the health, right? The health that started to decline for those who ran into the Yama. But
What was the deal with
that's
that?
to bring it in. So um we'll say this, right?
Okay.
We all grew up eating corn flakes,
Yeah, yeah.
but we all grew up eating Fruit Loops. But I guarantee you, eating corn flakes and eating Fruit Loops, you chew those cereals different, and it's for a reason. Uh, that the fiber in the corn, hard to digest. Um, the the um, the amount of maize intake. I'm trying to simplify it because I don't want to take directly from the book. The
I'm
amount of maize intake basically began to deteriorate the bones. With with the high sugar that maize has, it started to also deteriorate the teeth. So what science has proven is that before the so-called Mississippian era, there were no Wally bones found with any dental caries. So they didn't have any cavities basically.
gotcha.
So their diet was different. Let's say like we talk about boiled sweetgrass, or we talk about acorns and hickory. We talk about, when we go into meats, we could talk about panther, bear, deer, things that were in abundance, right? So the way they ate before having that intake of maize separates the people, and the bones basically are what's telling the story, right?
Gotcha.
The women became shorter. As I think the average woman at that time was about 5'7", if I'm not mistaken. And from, let's say, pre-Mays, so that'll be pre-1150, to when they found bones during the mission era, which would be about the 1500s, there was a difference in height that already was 3 inches.
Hmm.
So in the 400-year period and a change in that diet, the height difference between women dropped 3 inches,
That's crazy.
which it got worse during the mission era because the maize started being planted to or started being produced for the Spanish, right? And this is really what the mission eras was about, is about doing it for them. So people now, the actual coastal people, their intake became the same as the Mississippians, which was detrimental to them.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And
they damn near was 6 feet, cause that's why they were considered giants. The average Lenape man was 5'6". You can find that in the Walaun. So you can imagine why they seeing the woman, and the average woman got an inch on them. Then the average man is walking around here 6'1", 6'2". We talking average.
it's crazy.
They would be seen as giants amongst the Spanish, who were 5'2". Yeah, you had a whole foot on these people. So of course they would say that is a giant.
The Giants, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a whole nother line of questioning and interaction with Europeans. Before we get into that, I don't know. I was going to ask, the relation of the Guale. I mean, you kind of went over a couple of it, but I know in the book you talked about their relation to the depth fort. I know within you have the depth fort and several other cultures around that same era of time that are kind of related to the Guale and everything like that. I think you kind of answered it a little bit when you were talking about the various branches that existed, and those were the ones that the Europeans ran into and stuff like that. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, that ties into the depth fort, the 3000 BC, the individuals who were around the Southeast around that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, they have depth fort depending on who you ask.
Okay.
They have depth fort. Miku, peace. How you doing, sis? They have depth fort marked between 800 and 500 BC, right? Turn the camera on in BC.
Gotcha.
But what we found during the work is that there's continuity 3,000 years before that. So when someone says, well, this is depth fort culture and it started at this time, it's like, shit, who are you? Outside of doing the work and saying, this is what this is and this is what this is, you put a label on it and you put a date on it, knowing that there's a form of continuity before that. So things that added up, it's like saying, well, 9 + 1 can't be 10 when you get what I'm saying? When it's a continuation. Like, so now it can't be that 9 + 1, we're gonna say it's 35. But you like, damn, who are you to just put it like you know what I'm saying?
Well, a lot of
Just do your work.
A lot of times
Goddamn.
when they take time and make it linear, or they take time and create a starting point or whatever, or they adjust the starting point, is they attempt to control the narrative and stuff like that. Oh, this wasn't happening to this particular time, or whatever the case may be. And also to justify their span of time. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Facts. Yeah. I had that conversation with a brother earlier on Instagram. There's a European, he was doing a work on the Lenape migration or whatnot.
Okay.
And he got the story right. Even with the Muscogi, he has the story right. His dates are almost right, but he's trying to condense all of the story into 6,000 years when there are proven sites that are older than 6,000 years, right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of doing a similar thing. Said that to say, this is why we have to, and no matter what your culture is, you have to take back the names for your things. It's your shit.
Yeah.
So if you say, well, depth fort culture was a coastal culture, and this was here and it went into the interior, you can't say that started around 500 BCE when there's proof that it was life there 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, 30, 50,000 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't say, well, this is where that started, because no, those were the same people who migrated in and out and left forms or different forms to show you how things changed, but also stayed the same.
Exactly. It's also sort of like how they refer to certain things as try to throw you off with certain terms like Paleo-American,
Paleo-Indian. Paleo, that doesn't make any sense to us, right? Paul, you there? I don't know if he there. I'll be laughing at that. Somebody's like, oh, we're the Paleo Indians, and it's like, well, if you argue according to the Europeans' work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said you're a Paleo Indian, then someone asks you, well, what is pre-Clovis? You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now you will want to change your story because Europeans now have to change their story because they found out, well, we're going to say the Indians been here 14,000 years. Then you find out, hey, wait, it's people been here 20,000 years. Oh, no, those are the Paleo Indians.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about everything that's pre-Clovis? What do you mean pre-Clovis? Yeah, there are sites in America that aren't attached to people coming into the land, which are 20, 30, and 40,000 years older than the people coming into the land. So you have to remove their terms because if you don't, you'll get caught up in their arguments and their BS. Yeah. So this is why you take away the name Deptford and you say the people would have called the coastal land Wali. That's what they would have called it.
Yeah.
And they would have called the South the Shawokli or Shawanoki. They get this term from another people. But Savannah comes from Arawak. So that term, which I gave that said the South or the culture of the South was really dealing with the people of the pine. And then you have the Mississippian era, which includes the Timucua, the Yama, the Yuchi, the Cherokee, right? All of these different groups. You even include the Spanish, because what if I tell you there are mounds still being built when the Spanish got here? The Spanish ordered they commenced the building of mounds. There are certain mounds that they wanted to see if the people could do it.
Oh, really?
Of facts. Especially DeSoto. He was nasty. Especially DeSoto. So when in the book, as it grows chapter for chapter, I know you've noticed you start to see more names of different groups of people. Yes. Even the Arawak get introduced. People from South America get introduced.
Yes.
In the blue book, we talk about the people trading from Kolamoki and down and the Caribs.
That was the trade
talk to me.
No,
yeah, the trade network.
Trade network
right.
that you discuss in the book. That's very impressive.
And as Unc call it, he calls it the what Unc called the network, man, what we was building on the network. The true, he said that's the real Underground Railroad. That's what he called it. He was like, that's the real Underground Railroad. Because people don't understand that in order to do business, we have to speak each other's language.
Yes.
So at what point did these people begin to learn each other's languages and incorporate different words for things they may not have had in their own languages?
Yeah.
Right? So being Wali or being Iba'a, and my people are from the coast, we don't have maize, and Pa people are Yama, and he's really Iba'a. Don't tell nobody, y'all. But he's a part of the Confederacy. But if the Yama came in with maize, and we had no word for maize, we would have had to had adopted a word.
Yeah, use his word.
Right.
Gotcha.
So if we say, well, the people that brought it said their name is Kus. And we say, well, shit, they brought maize, so Kus must be the people of the maize, the children of the corn. Right?
Gotcha.
So now we start calling them Kusa. And then these group of people link with certain groups of Wali and become known as Kusa Abu. So now you hear the Muscogi term Kus, but you have the suffix of the Iba'a, Bo.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's another fusion. That's another part of the fusion within to those, those two cultures. He said, I know he was gonna ask. He said, wait, I know he was. He said, wait, I know he was. LOL. I was gonna ask why he's saying Yamasi. Oh, LOL. Funny guy. I see what you said, cuz. Let me take these shits off. Right. So, um, yeah, we back. I got what cuz was saying. The Yamasi, as cuz know, that you see how I use the words, right? When I use Yamasi, we're dealing with about 1650, 1670. That
But
came a lot later. That came a lot later.
I was about to say, if you want to, that's actually in this section, this line of question, I was going to ask you about the Yamasi Muscogi thing. How do the
Talk to me.
Muscogi, how do the various groups of Muscogi people, um,
Interesting.
fit in with the Guale? I know in the book you break it down the various eras the Guale precede them, and like how you
Right.
said, they come a little bit later. But I know how you were also talking about they had words for Guale, for Guale and Guale words within Muscogee languages and stuff like that. So if you feel
Right.
free to jump into any of that, bro. The
All
origin,
right.
the relation
Perfect.
to that, yeah,
Perfect. So when it comes to language, like what we really were on, and
yeah,
how those come together, what we have to what we all have to understand is that at certain times, different groups were dominant, right? So when the Yama came in and they were the dominant party based off ceremony, the lingua franca was Yama.
gotcha.
But when the Yama era started to fall, in groups like Kuwita, Kushida, Kusa, when these groups started to come in, then you have the fall of the Yama language and the rise of what Europeans began to call Muskogee.
Ah, okay. Europeans
So,
make that distinction.
right, Europeans are the ones who created the distinction between Yama and Muskogean, when in reality, what the Muskogeans were, or the Muskogee or the Musqua were speaking was a different dialect of what the Yama spoke themselves.
Mm,
Now, uh, the Yamasi chief or principal chief was asked in 2012, if I'm not mistaken,
okay,
what is the difference between the Creeks and the Yamasis?
okay,
And he said, there is no difference. And the reason he said there's no difference is because they all migrated from the same place at different times. So what he was expressing is those people that came later, hint, hint, if you look up the word, those following us and
gotcha.
those who came later, you'll get Kuwita, Kusa, Kushida, right? Um, the Yamasi just so happened to beat them in the migration. They migrated before them.
Got you. So,
So that's their tie. This is why their chiefs are called the same. And they're literally called the same, right? This is why they have similar cultures and ceremonies. This is why the Yamasi, the Muskogee, and the Seminole use the same colors: the white, the yellow, the red, and the black, right? This is why they all dress the same. Um, Simple things like that can show you why they tie in, and it's also why it was hard to separate the Creeks from the Yamasi. Is this because the creeks that crossed, they were in the town of Ichisi. I know you know about the Ochesi, but Ochesi and Ichisi are the same word as Hichiti. So
mm,
those people that crossed were speaking Hichiti,
hmm. He cheated tied to the Yamasi.
right? Because the Yamasi, or the root group of the Yamasi, are the Yama. That's the language, the Yama, right? The
Gotcha.
Tama, the
Yes.
Altamaha.
Yeah.
These are your Adakata, your original Chickasaw, right? That group of people and the crossers came together. They were already family, so why not come together? So
Gotcha.
now you have the Tama Ichisi, or your Hichiti speaking Yamasi.
Mm,
That was the group that DeSoto met when he ran into the town Altamaha and Ochesi and Oque,
got-
because they were aligned in the interior on a river.
And the Hachiti was a specific dialect of Yama that they were speaking.
Right.
Gotcha.
But it's talking about those who are coming to see the sun. So those who are coming to the east spoke that language. Hichiti, Ichisi, Ochesi. The Europeans, when they met them, or the Englishmen start calling them the Ochesi Creeks. After the war, they had to separate the Hichiti speakers or the Ochesis from the Yama. So they then began to create a Creek confederacy based off who the Ochesi were. So they were one and the same, but their groups divided and did different things. Right?
That was gonna be another line of questioning, bro. I know you was talking about the war. I was gonna eventually ask about. I know you got into the Seminoles. I was gonna ask you about the Yamasi War 1713. Let me see here. The whole advent of your Seminoles and everything like that, fleeing the whole formation of the state of Georgia, that whole scenario and everything like that. I know we're kind of touching on it, the conflict between the Europeans and the Yamasi and stuff like that. So.
Hold on, give me a moment.
Yeah,
that link I just dropped in the chat, that's for y'all. Reese, if you want to hop on, cuz, and ask the question, so I can, get a better understanding, go ahead and click that link, or anyone watching, if you have any questions, feel free. The floor is yours. So we deal with 1715. What we all have to, again, and it's for everyone, we have to understand this war didn't simply begin in 1715. This was an actual continuation of wars that happened almost 200 years prior. Okay. The Yamasi that you all know today, and that we all knew or know of, it wasn't until recent that investigators were able to see that they were a confederacy. They were a conglomerate of different groups. It wasn't just one group of people. So what happened is the Spanish couldn't protect their Indians, which caused some of their Indians to flee south. When these Indians got to St. Augustine, the Yama came to St. Augustine also. They all collectively decided that they were going to leave St. Augustine or Spanish territory and travel to English territory.
Okay.
This is when they became known as the Yamasis. Now, this was different groups of people who were done with the Spanish. They were done with the Spanish in every way. When they got to the north, they divided themselves amongst bloodline. There are a lot of Yamasi today that don't speak on this. Why? Because the true lineage of the upper Yamasi were the Iba'a. They were Guale, your Haspo, your Sakodichi, Tupiqui, Aspo. All of those towns are towns that existed before the Yama era. Then you have the lower Yamasi, which, listen to the names, ironically enough, the lower Yamasi are the Altamaha. You hear the word Tama.
Yeah.
The Chichisi, Ochesi, Ichisi, and the Okati or the Okyu. And then you have the Yua or the Yoa, which are also a lower Wale people.
Gotcha.
So there was a clear distinction between the Wale and the Tama, even though they all became known as the Yamasis. Now, a lot of these people were employed to go enslave other groups of indigenous people. Wale enslaving Wale, putting them on boats, selling them to the north, putting them on boats. They going down to the Caribs. Yamasi on horses, riding from Charlestown or Charleston all the way to the Keys, getting rid of different groups. So we have proof that some of the Wale in St. Augustine ran into the Calusa and then were enslaved by Yamasi and sent back to Carolina and put on boats and shipped out. This is what they did. If it wasn't for the Yamasi, at a certain point of time, the Europeans or the Englishmen would have never settled North America. They allowed them in because when De Soto came, he went to the Yama and they showed him where the big town of the Yupa'a, Kopatachequi. They showed him where our big town was. When it came to the 1600s, the Guale removed the Spanish and the English off of the coast. The coast of Georgia was never really settled until 1590. So you have Guale uprisings in 1520, 1540, 1550, 60, 70, 80, and 90. For 70 years, no one was truly able to settle that coast because the indigenous people were getting rid of them. And when they allowed the interior people who weren't Wali or Iba'a into the land, those interior people started to replace the Wale and the Timucua groups on the coast and became friends with the Englishmen. Listen, now the groups that migrated up there became friends with them and the Englishmen. Now they're enslaving everyone. You see how I just tied it in?
Bro,
So go ahead, talk to me, because I'm about to give you the dagger.
I know, because I was going to add some more gasoline on this, man. I was about to yeah, man, because I was going to ask you, I know you in the book you spoke about the Swift Creek culture. I know we're getting into this, and I know Creeks is one of the 5 civilized tribes of Native Americans. So when you talk about, you know what I'm saying, they sent Native Americans down to the south, and, you know, it's a whole thing about when we get into the Yamasi War 1713, all this stuff like that. It's a whole thing where it's those that sided with the Europeans that it was said to maybe betray the other ones or however. So could you kind of speak
that's exactly where we going. Facts. I got you, bit, bro. Okay. So with these groups, now you have them being punished because shit, everybody hiding from them now. Everybody done ran away. There's no one to enslave. So now the Englishmen putting hands on their wives and their sisters and enslaving their chiefs and their babies. So now, guess who they called?
Who?
The same people they were enslaving. And those people left Florida and they traded places with the interior people and came out the interior to help liberate them in 1715. So the same people they were enslaving, whether they was Iba'a, Appalachia, whether they was quote unquote Creeks, right? The English, the Musqua, whether they were Calusa, Timucua, even the Westo were getting put on boats by the Yamasi. If you were nigga, because this is where it started. The Englishmen didn't know the difference between the indigenous groups. They didn't give a, they didn't care. So, hey, they look like you, but they not y'all. Go ahead and grab them and put them on these boats. This is why the Yamasi were classified as Negroes.
That was another thing.
Or pre-Columbian Negroes.
The rate of reclassification, because it's mighty funny when we talk about the end of the Mississippian era. I'll just put more gas on the fire, bro. The man around the 1600s or whatever, that's miraculously the time, you know, your English people got there or whatever. So how could
right, but let me add this. That date, 1600.
Okay.
In 1601, do you know the Yama, which are the early Yamasi, they helped other Spanish commission Indians kill hereditary chiefs?
Now go into the Spanish commission Indians. What we dealing with that? What's the deal with that?
The thing is this: while the Iba'a was already starting to separate during the Mississippian era, there was already friction.
Okay.
So those who became friends with the Spanish, they start to get commission. You start to get knives. You got metal. It's like y'all know my favorite one. If you always on my podcast, metal pots. Okay. What woman wanted to keep making a clay pottery? She finna go fuck a nigga with a pot. And y'all know me on my podcast. We keep it all the way. This nigga got metal and cotton and horses, and you mean to tell me he got 4 niggas that's finna get in the field and plant for me?
Yeah.
That's what it was about. Politics was controlled by women. So women sending their sons to go get this work so they can bring that back to the community. Women are marrying now outside of the confines of ceremony so they can get certain benefits. Men are saying, I'm going to go work for him instead of doing this regular work. I can get paid over there. So now the community is starting. There's no stronghold in the community.
Gotcha.
So the Spanish say, you know, instead of putting them under the sword, hint, hint, physically, we could just put them under the cross spiritually. So they set up missions or churches in specific towns in order to create a barrier from them and the hostile or the non-Christian Indians, your Yama and your interior Guale.
Gotcha.
And they use those missions for agriculture to produce food for Spain and the crown and all of their colonies in the Caribs. That was what the mission system was about.
Wow. So just the whole impact of chattel slavery, you know, when that started to become a major thing, that was pretty much the death blow that pretty much wiped it out as an organ. Everything kind of went underground. Or how would you say that kind of like how it's been continued to this day?
Okay. So now talk to me. Finish your question, bro.
No, I was just gonna say, as far as, you know, maintaining the history up until this day and everything like that. Surviving, you know, slavery, because, you know, when you read certain textbooks and stuff like that, or certain materials or whatever from certain periods of time or whatever, like how you were saying, you couldn't tell the difference between an Indian and a Negro. You see what I'm saying? And they would have certain laws and things like that. And there was you know, we all know about the whole idea of status or whatever. Three of the main ones: citizen, national, and alien. A slave is an alien or whatever. A so-called Indian would be a national. The nations that would have existed prior to the United States being, you know what I mean, formed. You see what I mean? So as far as the reclassification and the impact of slavery, I guess that's what I was trying to get into. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, perfect. Hold that for me. Okay. Reese, you there? Cause I wanna
yeah, I'm
see if I can
probably be loud in the background.
Man, bro, I ain't gonna lie, bro. You get your hair done every week. This man ASAP Rocky, I'm telling you.
I get that every time. Everybody say I look like ASAP or I look like Travis.
Hey, cuz ain't going out like that, man. Say less. What was your question, brother? I want to answer that before I continue this bill.
I wanted to know, so like when they linked up, like we were saying about the Kusaba or the Kusaba, like when they was linking up with people like them, that automatically made them an enemy to like the rest of the union, didn't it?
In a way, because a lot of the people, they were already at war with the Musqua when they came in, right? So when you have those in the north or certain groups starting to band with them, a lot of the treasures started to leave the land. So them people ain't come to the southeast for gold for no reason, right? They didn't come here for the fountain of youth for no reason. So there were things that people were trying to keep sacred. And that's why a lot of times there was not a lot of times, but that's why that barrier of mountains was there. And when they allowed people to come over, that started that friction. Now you speaking some different shit. Now you're trying to treat us different. Now you're trying to change the politics because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's four. Instead of it be 4 different clans on this platform, everybody would have a voice. But when the Kusa came in, now only one of us got the voice to speak for all of us. That's not the way, right? So it's a lot of things that started that there's a lot of tension, but it's a lot of things that started that war. So you definitely on point though, cuz.
So when they were trying to like protect secrets, is that like when they started coming up with myths like the City of Gold that the Soto and I was talking about, and the Fountain of Youth?
Right, because they heard, and this is the thing, right? I remember the crazy dude. One day I say there was an El Dorado in the southeast. He said, I want to debate you about that. And I'm like, debate me? I'm like, that's a myth, right? But there are actual gold mines in the southeast that these people heard about from the Maya and the Aztec that were quote unquote that were still there. Why do you think they came over here? Hint, hint. Think about it. When the Muscogee lost, they came here, and the people that whooped their ass came here looking for the same shit the Muscogee were looking for. So who told them that it existed over here?
So the Muskogee, they were looking for the exact same thing the Spanish were. They gold.
Same shit. They were looking for a better life, bro. Because when they got the ass whooped, a volcano erupted over there. Don't believe me? What Doc said? Don't believe me? Look it up.
Now I heard
It
about
was
that around the
it was
time they cleared their cities, right?
yeah, it was hell over there. So they were trying, like, bro, we got a promised land in the east. Have you heard of a city? The streets are paved with gold, and there's 12 gates to the city, 24 elders in the city. This is basically what was going on. It's like everything in the west went bad. So everybody came east to do what? To find the sun. How do you say find the sun in quote unquote Muskogee? Adakata, Chickasaw, he motherfucking cheated. We know who the people were and when they came based off real historical events. We know who they are based off real historical events. Why do you think when they got here, they started to kill off everybody? Why do you think when they got here, one of the first places they went were to the copper deposits in the Midwest? Why do you think they had obsidian weapons and copper weapons against the people who was using quartz and glass? They knew what was going on, and they strategically placed themselves over all of the major trade commodities and brought their own, which was maize. So they took over the copper mines. They took over the salt mines down here in the south, the Timucua. Those in the north took over the copper. The Timucua took over the salt. Then you have them bringing in cotton. Then you have what they say the three sisters, your beans and your squash. The diet of the people changed now. The health changes. So now they're more susceptible to diseases. They meet a new people and take on their form of agriculture. We know how detrimental it is to plant some shit from somewhere else in your yard.
Yeah.
We know what it will do to your yard. Now what happens when everyone or the majority of the people takes on that lifestyle? The land becomes shit. So while there were good times for the people, for their bodies, their phenotypes changed. You can study this and see the intake or the change in intake change not only the phenotype in the shape of the mouth, it changed the shape of the teeth, it changed the shape of the head, the cranial structure. The shape of the head of the people changed because they started to eat different. And ironically enough, when you pigging out at grandma's house or you pigging out at auntie house, what they say, you are what you eat.
Yeah. Turn to a pig.
You'll turn into a pig. That's literally what happened to the people. They literally turned into pigs, not wild hogs like they were. We're going to go take some shit down. We're going to eat the roots of these plants and we're going to eat some real meat. You're talking about somebody that was eating slop, that was taking maize and making flatbread and tortillas and then taking that and mushing it up. And now you got what they call it? What they call when with the corn, you all the different, so much that you can do with the maize. You get what I'm saying? That it just changed. Most of our intake today is maize.
Yeah. Cornstarch.
Cornstarch. Corn, period.
High fructose corn syrup out of it.
Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what we were talking about? Sugars. Remember what they used to say on TV as a commercial? They say fructose, glucose, sucrose, anything that rhymes with gross. Maize for the original people, it was gross. The Western Iba'a, which are the Apala, you see, you hear it, Iba'a, Apala. They were the Westerners, and they became known as the Apalachi. They were the only original people that would be considered the true Mississippians, as they were one of the first to get maize first, and it became a part of their culture. And they began to practice the green corn ceremony while speaking the Yama language. The Timucua shunned the maize, but they took on the language. So this is why the Makoma, or that Makoma group of Timucua, the Takatakaru, that name in itself is Hichiti already, dagger. Right, we got, bro, especially when they pregnant, we got cousins that eat cornstarch powder facts. And you know what happened? One thing I didn't mention, corn or maize, the maize intake caused the levels of anemia to rise in the people. So our people who weren't anemic, half of the population were now anemic because they stopped eating from the water. They stopped going to chase down food and only had an intake of, you know what I mean, an intake of maize, a steady diet of maize, beans, and squash. So their teeth started to rot and start to fall out. In the book, but I know it's in the book. For some, it's probably because I'm outside. I want to be outside today, but I have pictures of the teeth. I have other work. Let me see if I hold on. Let me see if I can find some work of the teeth. I want to see if I can find some pictures of the teeth. Wow. I got so much work, man. I probably got it in the house somewhere.
I bet it makes sense when you talk about it, it's the same issues that individuals go through now with high fructose corn syrup and all that stuff, like, because it just converts into sugar when it's in your stomach.
Right. Red Crane did a whole bill called "What That Mouth Do," and he was talking about the intake of maize and about how that that high sugar and that high the high sugar basically starts to cloak or starts to cover the teeth, right? And it starts to eat at the gums and eat at the root of the teeth. So yeah, all of that goes into it. This is something you can look up. Bach, write this down for me. This is a chapter out of a work. It's called "Evidence for Early Use of Maize in Peninsular Florida." The author is three. So we have three anthropologists. We got Jennifer A. Kelly, Robert H. Tykot, that's Tykot, and one of the goats, Gerald T. Milchinich, or Milinich, excuse me. I just had to get it right, Milinich. And they are from, you got University of South Florida, so Tampa, and Milinich is from the Florida Museum of Natural History in Gainesville. In here, they talk about, say it again,
evidence for
early evidence for use of maize in Peninsula, Florida.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh wow, cuz say they use corn in over 250 different commercial products.
Oh yeah.
So let me see. Take these off. So it says what they're doing. So it says that they're focusing on non-coastal, estuarine, and inland sites in prehistoric Florida. So they went to Crystal River, Cross River, Horace Island, Pillsbury, Milton Mound. It's 9 mounds that they went to, but it says that they range from the late Archaic period through the late Caloosahatchee period in an effort to more accurately reflect the introduction of maize to populations living on the west central Gulf Coast and interior Florida from 1000 BC to about 1750 AD. So what bioarchaeologists or botanists and botanists what they do is they study the migration of plants, and that migration of plants kind of gives them a give or take, right? I mean, they always say give or take. They'll always give you a plus minus 150, 260. They're gonna let you know we either right or wrong, or on or off by this many years or that many years. So they talk about maize migrating into the land by way of the Yama. So that's something that you can look into when dealing with the migration of maize.
And that's
And let
around
me
like
see.
900 AD, 1000 AD period.
No, that's about 1,000 years before that. That's dealing with the Yama. That's
Okay.
why I say when the Yama came in, they brought maize,
Oh, you
but
said
it
1000
wasn't.
BC.
But yeah, BC, yeah. When
Got
the
you.
Yama brought maize, it wasn't in the influx that came when the Muskogee came over. You know, when they came over with their maize, and then
Got
the
you.
Spanish started to have them do it at a higher rate even later. So you get in the time periods.
Got you.
So when they all came over here, they was all just one group of people. Then when they got over here, they broke off, like into the shots.
Some of them. So the Shata and the Chickasaw, or the Shata and that original Hichiti group of people, they were one and the same. The difference is one decided to go one way and one decided to stay in that coastal area, right? But they're still, yeah, they're still one and the same. The Kuwita and Kushita, they're also a part of those groups. So what Thomas Woodward, and this was the dagger, he wrote this in 1818. He said before the Muskogee crossed the Mississippi, they were known as the Musqua, and they were already a confederation.
Mm.
This is someone who's from my grandma's county. He's from Hart, Georgia, and he took his time to document different stories of the different groups of people. So yeah, Reese, they definitely did see themselves as being a part of a confederacy and then broke off into individual groups.
So where did the Choctaw language come from? Is it like like the same as the Hashiti language, or is it like something
It's
different?
a dialect. It's definitely a dialect. So you'll hear slight difference in words because the Choctaw, right? The Chata picked up words from the Appala or the Appalachian, right? The Chata also picked up words from the Tawasa, who were known to speak a Timucuan dialect. So you will see more Timucuan words and Appalachian words in Chata than you would in Hichiti itself.
So it's basically like Arabic and Hebrew. They're very very close to each other.
Basically, is literally if you and if you flip the script upside down, it's the same. So if somebody might say Illa and someone says Allah and then someone says Elo, they all mean the same,
Okay.
right? Il, al, they all mean the same. Or if you take it to the now, you have the glyph or the sun disk, which they call Atun, but Atun could be Atun, Atin, Atun, or Ra can be Ray, Roy, Ray, Ru, depending on the dialect that's being spoken, but they all come from the same mother language. And for those watching, that's what the symbols were, or like the glyphs. They were pictographs, right? But they had and determinatives, but they had phonetic value. The issue Europeans had and have is that they're forcing words on the glyphs as opposed to simply saying this is the message it's attempting to convey. They don't have the culture, so they don't know. You right on point, Reese.
So what's those glyphs? Were they supposed to be? Were they written from right to left? Because that's how the
Uh,
Choctaw
the
language
the
is spoken.
the the Shata glyphs, I don't know if they were written from right to left. I know they were written in circular motion. So maybe that can be right to left or left to right, right? In the now, it was left to right, right to left, up to the bottom, from top to bottom. Only certain people could decode them bottom to the top, but that was considered that was out of character for someone to do, right? So Yeah, their languages are the same. Their glyphs are the Shata and the Yama, the Shata and the Chickasaw. They all originally had the same glyphs. So yeah, yeah, fact, Sean. They damn near the same, or they were originally the same, or they'll say, or they're brothers. They're brothers. Their mother is the Yama, or they daddy, right? Um, because what people have to understand is the Olmec are the fathers of these civilizations. Um, because they killed off the men and started to mix with the Mokaya women and mix with all these different groups of women, which formed these confederacies of South America and Central America. They
Bro,
all definitely had the same glyphs originally. Talk to me.
I know you referenced the Olmecs. Could you speak on let's see here. I know it's mentioned. I know in that came before Columbus, but Ivan Van Sertima back in the day. He correlates the voyage of Mansa Musa and Abu Bakr into in their landing in Central America, what have you, around Mexico. However, he correlates that with the Olmec civilization or whatever case may be. So, and I know with the 50,000 year span that we've been talking about or what have you, people had already been there. So, how did that impact that whole civilization, or what way did that impact the Olmecs? You see what I'm saying?
The correlation is there isn't one. It's just it was some niggas that got on boats and landed in a specific place.
Yeah.
The people that we're calling the Olmec,
Yeah.
um, uh, uh, they were here way before Abu Bakari.
Okay.
Way before. Um, so people try to tie it in because they see Negroid features, right? Or phenotypes. But when we start to look at tribe and when we look at our own family, what do we notice? Everyone don't have the same phenotype. So that was a core. That's how they was trying to make it. Like, well, they look Negroid, so they had to have. They say they come from on boats from over here, so they had to have been Africans that left at this time because they were searching. No, the Olmec are just a group of niggas that landed in a particular place, and they had better weapons than the men that they were fighting against. They eventually mixed with these women, or the Miccosukee women, which house you originally say Mokaya, and they created all of many of these civilizations in Central America and South America. From there, these groups began to, do what they do out there in the West. But
Gotcha.
there is an admixture between different groups of people. Now, the story of those people leaving West Africa and coming over here, it is said that they didn't land here in the Southeast. They actually landed in the Caribs and the East Coast of South America. So
Gotcha.
I would leave that for those people who are down there, who may be able to verify that story. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. That was great clarity on that, because basically the Olmecs, or the people who would become the Olmecs, had already been here. Because I know, like, in just research I've done, in that a lot of the Mayan settlements, I know the Mayan and the Olmecs are the same people at some point. The Mayan settlements, they go back to 7,000 BC, and that's just European.
And
Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's because they belong to the Mokaya. See,
Okay.
the Mokaya, they were the original culture out there. They themselves are what they say, Easter Island, cuz I don't know if Red Crane listening, but that's that Uchi branch, right? That's a part of that Uchi branch. But they were the first ones to actually operate and actually cultivate what we know now as maize. So that's a practice picked up by the Olmec, which eventually was passed down to the different groups, the Maya and the
Gotcha.
different. The
Gotcha.
Mokaya is definitely a group that's worth or worthy of study. And when you see them, you'll notice in English or with the Latin script, the American English script, excuse me, It's spelled Mixe dash Zoque. That is Mikuzuki, Mishuzuki,
Yeah, it is.
the lead people. That's Hichiri. That's Yama. Those are their mothers.
So
Those are their aunties, right?
these are the
Um,
same people.
Same people.
Mm.
So the Yamasi have that Olmec Mokaya mix. This is why they were dark skinned, but they operated in both cultures. They had the maze and all of this, but they still had the writing system or a system that was later, brought to them. The
Mm.
ceremonies existed in Mexico. The ceremonies or the corn ceremonies, the squash ceremonies that existed in South America are ceremonies they brought up here.
Mm.
So that's how you know who's who. If someone say, "Well, I celebrate green corn," and you say, "Well, where is corn originally from?" and they tell you where it's from, that tells you where that part of the culture and ritual comes from. So if no one over here originally had it, that means what? No one over here originally practiced green corn. Dagger. So I do have 9 more minutes because I got to go pick up my project, but we could continue to build while we here. Reese, you tap back in. What's going on? You got a question, fam?
And I had to cut out because I don't know what's going on. Something like some audio issues or something.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Let's see. The link's still in the chat. If anybody if anybody does have any questions or would like to join in, the link is in the chat.
Yeah, you ain't say nothing wrong, cuz. I was finishing this drywall. I was listening the whole time.
Truly.
I was listening the whole time. On point like a needle.
Hey, bro, could you put some paint where it ain't on that Negro slavery thing, man? How that impacted the whole continuity of
Oh yeah, don't let me. That's what I want to end with. I'll
Yes, sir.
I'll end with that. That's what we'll end with. So the difference between our form of war and chattel slavery was this. But if you did something crazy, we coming to get you. However, Auntie see fit is what we gonna do with you. Hiyoko, hey, mama. So our mothers could say, well, he killed one of the men in our family. We down the man. We gonna bring him into the family, right?
Yeah,
Or he did something against us. He's gonna work for us, with us, and he got to go to war for us. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Now he's our family. He got our clan. He's gonna receive the same benefits as every man in this family. But now a system comes in that says if they're
Oh,
darker than this, then they are a Negro. So you enslave them, and if they run away, you can kill them and you can beat them. And we're gonna sell them to somebody that we don't even know. That was the difference. See, the clan system used a form of enslavement to keep families alive. We only got 3 men in our family. We got 13 women. Out of all these women, they only birthed 3 men. Man, we finna go grab some niggas. Or we already at war. Or even better, did you know medicine men could choose different men and women to take out of families and place them in other bloodlines to keep that clan alive?
wow.
Yep,
Did
that's
you
what we
know if
did.
go ahead, take
Facts.
over for me.
Facts.
Go ahead. I need the
Facts.
medicine. Y'all, both of y'all
Yeah,
talk.
that's
Go ahead, man.
You can
yeah,
you go,
that's
Pa.
that's what we
Hey,
did
go, Pa. I
because
got you.
go ahead, young nephew. Go ahead, Red Clay.
Nah, it's on you. Go on ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
Go ahead, I yield the floor to you, Red Clay.
Oh, nah, I was gonna say. I mean, ain't no point in me backing up what you saying when I know what you saying. It's facts.
Facts. But Paul,
That,
go ahead and expound on that. Oh, you got the flow.
Yeah, just like nephew Wale said that. the medicine man, he actually have that right to actually put another member who member clan was actually about to be so-called unalive, right? Well, that's when you take and you chose people to take on that spirit clan, and most people don't know about that, you know. And so, with
Yes,
that
sir.
being said, that what kept the clan alive, you know, because during the battle and war, right, we would had to put the children and the women. They would be the last of defense with the older elder men, you know. And then you have your warriors, and most people don't know that the medicine man is just not the medicine man. He also become a war chief at time of war. Most people don't know that. But when it's
Facts.
not war, it's medicine. And the medicine man, he's is responsible. You know, most people always see that the chief, but the chief is the liaison between the clan mothers and the clans of the tribe. He come and bring the message to all the village chiefs and everything. And the village chiefs and they'll spread it down to their clan mothers, and they go it on in the debate. Well, not a debate in such a sense of that, but they will come together when it's time for government because each
Facts.
tribe had a specific thing to do within the nation. You
Yep.
see, everything has to be ran by the medicine man or the medicine women.
Mm.
Facts. That medicine society.
Right.
Facts. So that's the difference. And then if you read books like the Yamasi War by William Ramsey, he insinuates that the number of Negroes on the plantation jumped exponentially because laws came out stating that if you were not completely Indian, then you were a Negro. So
Wow.
think about it. If the Yamasi were called Negroes and the Wale were called Negroes and you know what I'm saying? And the Ochesi was called Negroes. We can go all day. This means that anyone who was enslaved and put on the plantation was a Negro.
Bro, I want to ask
So,
you, what is their definition of being an Indian as opposed to a Negro? If you aren't 100% Indian, you know what I mean?
okay, perfect. The be Indian and a Negro was simply this: a Negro was a slave.
That's it.
So if an
That's
Indian
it.
became a slave, you just automatically become Negro then.
Dagger.
So you get knocked over the head and they drag you off. You wake up on a plantation, you a slave.
You're a slave. You on that plantation. You counted as Negro.
Cold blooded.
Facts. And burn a runaway R on their cheek and sell them both cheap.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
cold.
You
So
know Hollywood. You
Uh-huh.
know Hollywood. You know Hollywood put it in the movie. Indians, niggas, all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
mm,
Yep.
so
And
so,
guess
so
what? Them European women, them French women, all them women that came over here that wasn't of darker skin tone. No disrespect to any of the women listening and stuff like that, but they were fiending for that loggerhead. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
yeah,
They
It's
yeah.
like
seen
it's,
they
it's
seen
like
they seen niggas bathing in the back of that cotton field out of that water pail and that little bit of ass bar of soap, and they're like, God damn, this what we been missing out on this side of the world.
the original Camille's house. Niggas was saving white women from getting their ass whooped by white men,
Right.
Wow.
and then bringing them to the tribe and incorporating them into the clans.
Uh-huh.
So everybody ain't a $5 Indian. How did you know?
Nah, that started for the fathers of the half Indians trying to get their families included.
Right. Right.
Right.
I This is an interesting part of the conversation because like how we talk about like Cahokia, we talk about a lot of the the Mississippian when it ended in the whole Mississippian thing, and then you get the advent of Negro slaves, and then this whole civilization that declines and the population of Negro slaves just explodes. You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
And most of
Right.
the black people in the United States are come out of the Southeast. That's an interesting thing.
That's how they do it. Color law.
Kidnapping.
And
Yeah.
then what else they're not talking about um dealing with the plantation and everything, the slave trade, right? That it was mainly men, but they had the men to sleep with the Aboriginal women over here to make children.
Hey, I was just finna mention that admixture. I was just finna mention that. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. I know you
Right,
I called it and I spoke it.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, because I am that admixture, and we ain't scared to say
Mm.
it.
Right.
I
I'm an
love my
admixture
African
too.
family
Actual
members.
facts.
I love my indigenous family members. That's why if anybody follow me on Facebook, they see it say Eddie Naga Niji. Why am I saying Naga? What does that have ties to? Why am I saying Niji? Where does that word originate from in the dressing? So
Nietzsche,
I
it
mean,
comes from Ojibwe,
hey, I'm
ain't it?
calling myself Eddie the Black Indian, ain't it? But hey, hey,
So
Yes, sir.
one question I did want to ask, okay, for anybody who's kind of like researching any valid Indian treaties or whatever case may be that kind of might tie into the Guale. I know one notable one that I always was familiar with, let's say like the Delaware Indian treaties and stuff like that. But I mean, is there any treaties that anybody might want to kind of familiarize themselves with that might apply to the Guale or something like that?
Pine Tree Hill.
hey, right,
Pine Tree Hill is the
right.
only treaty that has the Wale named by their own autonym.
Mm-hmm.
Pine Tree Hill.
Every other treaty is signed by somebody that claimed to be of that lineage but was riding under another title, like
Mm-hmm.
Yamasi, Lower Creek, Upper Creek, Appalachie, Uchee,
Chicor.
all that Chicor. The Chicor had a treaty in the 1500s with
Okay.
this
So you
with the
said the
fifth
Treaty of what again that the Wale was
Pine
on?
Pine Tree
Fine.
Hill.
Yeah.
So like, what was that treaty basically like acknowledging?
It took Carolina. That's what it acknowledged. That the English owned Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we know where the big town of Yupa'a at. It's on the treaty. Somehow this treaty was signed and the original and all of the copies have been burned.
Right. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Ain't that something?
Right.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
That's convenient, huh?
So everything that was happening over here on the East Coast and down here in the South was like any of this happening over the West Coast, like with those tribes over there.
Of
I know they
course,
said the Spanish was
you
over
got
there
you
heavy.
got you got missions in California, Texas,
Uh-huh.
all that shit, cuz. You had missions in Mexico.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
But then you mentioned that Anasazi and come from Yamasi, or you know what I'm saying? I know we ain't really get into the
Yeah,
relation
because I
between
never
them.
really hear
The
any like
Anasazi and the Yama are similar peoples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a mix in there. What you were saying, Reese? Oh, he dropped. Yeah,
because I
bro.
never.
It's definitely a mix in there between the Anasazi and the Yamasi.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that's always a thing. I know one of the more notable tribes to actually kind of get recognition. The Washita, with Empress Berenice back in the day and stuff like that, after the Spanish land grants and everything like that. I know it's always been said, or it's been said on numerous occasions, that the Yamasi and the Washita are like sister tribes and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming their genesis is also out of Mexico and everything like that. They got the same history, like you were talking about. I wrote it down. Basically the group of people that the Olmecs come from, they would be the same. Am I correct?
The Washita is the Choctaw.
Mm-hmm.
Dagger.
Right. It's just depending on who you're speaking to, it's gonna be enunciated different.
Okay.
Right.
Language be the barrier that keep people from really knowing information. And if you don't know any of these languages of these different type of peoples from these different type of regions and this and that and the third and how they intermingle through trade, jargon and stuff, you ain't gonna understand none of this.
Yeah.
Literally. The common thing in how a lot of these tribes, it was trade jargon. They had that in common and stuff like that. Because wasn't nobody just going into people and saying nah nah boo boo and not knowing what nobody else saying. Literally. And we talking about and if we want to deal with specific people, we talking about way before colonization. How my
Right.
family in Africa knew about how I'm gonna put it like this. Me being an EFOP practitioner too. How my peoples over here in North America know about Orishas and stuff like that. How was they over here worshiping Orishas way before colonization?
It had to be contact.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Eagle Joe said, the great Eagle Joe. He said, he said, when white men wrote that they came over here, they wrote it like they was the only ones who had boats. He say, he say that's because they wrote it. That shit was too funny,
Right.
bro. You should have seen his face. He like, well, that's because they wrote it. He was like, we have boats too. People was coming back and forth across the Great Pond. And when I heard Great Pond and I heard this story, and he gave me the creation story, that was more than enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many people gonna tell you they folks originate from Georgia and tell you who gave them their name. He say God gave us our name, but then we became everything else.
Mm. Mm.
Then we became Creeks and Puerto Rican and everything. But God said, you are a child of me. You are children. You are a child of God.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the only people in the East that called themselves the children of the Creator?
So,
And then to make it even better, the sun is just a physical representation of the energy and the spirits they were talking about. So that doesn't mean that that deity is the same as your deity, though y'all using the same physical representation on this planet. That's why you have symbolic thought and systematic thought. We could use the same symbols and them shits mean completely different, or
right.
the energy that's
Right.
being carried by those energies could be different. That's where people gotta be very cautious.
But I put it like that in some of my work. We talk a lot about symbols, and where we talk about the difference between with symbols. Like words have definitions, but symbols don't have different definitions. They have ecosystems of association. You see what I'm saying? So they might mean
Right.
different things in 100 different scenarios. So yeah.
It's like when Doc said the Ankh is an evil symbol. It's the sexual fertility symbol of Satanists. And niggas was mad, like, oh, he said the Ankh is evil. Not
Yeah.
understanding that, bro. If you study Luciferianism, you understand they use it as a sexual ritual symbol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the system is different. The sign is the same, but in that system, things slightly change.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
why Eddie
So
Murphy said on Vampire Brooklyn, evil is good because
Yeah.
sex is good.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
facts and sex is supposed to be evil. That was the first evil taught to man, according to their Bible.
Right,
Yeah. And do that sound like
right.
something a real nigga would
Because
say?
Nah.
All right.
Come on, man.
All right.
Oh yeah, I'm over here about to shut
because
shit down. They over
in
here
the
DMing
in
my
the adult version, in the adult version of the Bible that I written, the adult version, it says that when God asked Adam, "Where art thou?" he couldn't talk because he had Eve in his mouth.
Right. 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 A person who wrote that version of the Bible that we were just talking about that said all that that's a man who only like men. All right. We see all the statues.
Oh
They always
God,
chisel each
G
other out,
shit.
butt naked, with silk,
Right.
what they call them, silk little satin sheets draped all over their body and looking real feminine.
Then they got the boy on boy art.
Man,
Yeah,
what? What? All right, Michelangelo, come over here. Paint me and my bitch. Like, yeah, for real, for real. It,
well,
Yeah, calling
It already
himself Michael the
nah.
Angel. Ain't that some
What you
shit? That nigga
pardon me?
call
What you
himself Michael the Angel.
the angel Michael? Hold on. What you say, Bob? Because
Yeah,
um
Michelangelo. Yeah.
yeah.
I do want to end it before we do hop into a free bill. Is
Oh,
there any question that you do have, Bob, that you want to ask the medicine man?
let me see.
Um, um
Let me see here, bro. I think we covered a lot of
or
ground.
Red Crane, while you here, may you give him some effects that Maze had on the ancient people
yeah,
or anything that you know about?
yeah. He's the corn, maize, whatever you want to call it. Originally, it was a crop from Europe. I'll give you the migration for it. Uh,
Okay.
that original crop, it wasn't even called maize or corn, but it was Europe. It was in Europe, migrated Caribbean, South America, North America. We already know the people responsible for bringing corn up here, but it'll cause that eating that corn cause all different type of immune disorders. Literally.
Hmm.
Excuse me, I was laughing at something I just seen walking my bed.
Hey, cause there's a lot of that going on these days out here. So
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a it. Um, it caused anemia. It caused all different periodontal diseases. Uh, Eating a lot of corn causes sugar to spike, your insulin to get low. Eating a lot of corn causes you to get type 1 and 2 diabetes. If people don't understand when they eat corn and they pass by the next day or the same night, they still see that whole piece of corn in them.
Yeah.
That's because our biochemistry is not made to digest it. If I was Muslim, eating corn would be isfet, which means it would be wrong and stuff like that. Eating corn to the people over here is like eating pork, and we know pork ain't good for you.
Yeah.
Eating corn too also carries a type of pinworm too. That's something I've been wanting to say, but I forgot to tell people. So
Kills a
you
type of
know
worm.
what you say?
It carries a type of worm, like a parasite.
Yeah, it carries a type of parasite. So, and that parasite grows predominant. You know how down there they'll let the corn rot to get like the little blue fungus on there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They never show you the bugs coming out of that fungus.
Mm.
They
Okay.
never show you that bug coming out of that fungus. Do your research on certain animals that pee and poop on corn. Certain animals that eat corn naturally and stuff like that. You have garbage disposals in nature, and you got the ones that spread seeds to grow and stuff like that. So it ain't hard to put two and two together.
I don't know if y'all can hear me or not.
What you
Yeah,
say
we
now?
you go.
Y'all can hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we go.
My bad. I won't hear about touch it down. So they over jamming my signal and stuff. We've been keeping on them horseback.
Hey, cuz, them things ready, boy. I'm gonna go
Oh,
pick them up.
oh yeah. That's what's up. That's what's
Yes,
up.
sir.
That's what's
Yes,
up.
sir.
That's what's up.
You know what
But
I'm saying?
it's all type of stuff and cultural and spiritual ways that migrated from different areas that either made us stronger or broke a lot of our people in a lot of different ways. When people started not following the ways of their ancestors as far as how they ate, how they were spiritually, culturally, and stuff like that, it caused them to demise. If we want to deal with the world hell by us not following the ways of our ancestors put us in the mindset of hell. And when we dig into our ancestors' literature and stuff like that, we find out there's no word for hell or the devil.
Mm.
So a lot of people being played tricks on. A lot of people that follow Dr. York, which is a lot of people in the Indian communities and stuff now, a lot of elders and stuff like that. He taught people about trichology and stuff like that, but nobody paid attention. He told people, don't believe me. Take your punk ass out there and do your own research.
Yeah.
But ain't nobody wanting to pay attention. It's we telling people, hey, don't believe us. If you know how to read and research, go do your research. Literally. And I'm gonna give you props, cause besides the people we normally be on here with, you know, you coming with a learned mindset.
No doubt. Appreciate it, bro.
So people can talk to you. I was gonna read you spiritually, but I ain't gonna do you like that, cause then you gonna be on the phone with my cousin for hours talking. Some, how the fuck did this nigga know this?
Because I do a little bit of read too. I do astrology as well, so a couple of things myself. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that. I
Yeah.
gotta learn to stop doing that, because we have these people who bang Christ so hard, they'll tell you you're lying in the face, but behind your back, tell your cousin, man, that nigga was right. It was just spooky. I didn't know how you knew that. So
She,
yeah, yeah.
sure. But I'm about
Well,
to go
Christian
ahead and
folks in them
grab.
don't
Oh,
know.
go ahead. Oh.
They call that what we have. They call that the gift of the spirit.
Right.
Mm,
It's
okay.
and me practicing E5, we call it a walking egoon. That means you here physically, but you can be in that realm at the same time.
Gotcha. So last question, as far as just the calling to be a medicine man or what have you, is it like a chosen at birth thing, or how is it initiation type thing, or how does that, you know, that be my last thing.
It's certain rituals involved and ceremonies and stuff like that. But to be honest, it ain't even on you. It got to be in you.
No doubt.
Cause it's a
Right,
lot of people that say they wanna. I ingest herbs and stuff all the time. I'm making medicine for people every day. Me being a barber, part of me being a barber, I use natural stuff that I done whipped up. It's a lot of girls right now, alopecia and stuff, look like they need to be in
Thank you. Said
Maxim
something I couldn't
commercials
hear
and
what you
stuff
said.
like that. But it's it got to be in you, not on you.
No doubt.
Cause
Wait,
I run
Cream, what
across
you
a
said?
lot of people that say they the medicine man, woman, shaman, all this and that and the third. And you can tell when they pump faking. You probably ordering some stuff off of Amazon and packaging it and stuff and getting it to people. I make it right there in front of people's face.
Mm,
So it's a complete difference. Oh, you don't believe me this work? Oh, you think I'm gonna hurt you? I'll drink it right now. I don't even need the detox. I don't even need to deworm myself. But I'll drink it. I'll eat it right in front of you.
yeah.
Hey, Crane, did you say you
right.
had to be initiated or you had to be born with the type of medicine man?
And it's either in you, it can't be on you. Now, some people might have a gift for gab and might be appointed that, but you don't know if you got the gift for gab if you ain't doing the alchemy on it. How many people can come up and be like, man, damn, but he know what he know what he doing. He know what he doing. I can vouch for him.
Yeah.
I don't go around saying I hear people. I tell them what they need to do. Cause you ain't hard headed if you don't know. When you know, that's when you become hard headed. And then knowing is only half the
And I
battle.
Half the
What are
battle.
you gonna do to continue doing it?
right,
And tribally, I don't give a fuck how many books you read. It ain't finna give you the medicine for your family. You gotta know somebody that knows something that knows something.
right.
Oh man.
I, I put it like this, bro. I talk about a lot of similar thing about like some a scale I normally use to gauge things. The layman, the
Mm-hmm.
philosopher, the scientist, and the artist. What you describing as a scientist. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A person
Yep.
with a philosophy and a method. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
with that.
Right. They taught us this in basic school. We just didn't grasp it at that certain amount of time and stuff like that. A lot of people literally went to school just to become slaves in the system, not to get outside of the matrix and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And that's the main thing. I tell people all the time, y'all want to be Neo? Motherfucker, I'm Morpheus. Literally, I'm Morpheus. I'm Morpheus. I'm gonna give you so much good wisdom, you ain't gonna be able to understand it till it's too late. Then that's when you're gonna find out you the motherfucking one. Literally. Literally.
That's what people never forgot. That's what
Right.
people forgot.
And this is the thing. I don't know about everybody else's family dealing with what their family is and how prideful they is for their family. But we do be the anointed people and stuff like that. And yeah, you can, people ain't willing to break backs about their family and stuff like that. They ain't. That type of energy ain't existing like that. It's existing, but it's in small groups. There ain't nobody willing to lay their life down about their blood. We seen somebody just do it recently when the police killed his son. Even though it wasn't the police and stuff like that, but he laid his life down for his son. It was an unjust manner. So how that man felt to avenge his son, it was justice to him. No matter how many people say he's stupid. If that was his only son, if that man ain't had no kids per se, and that was his only kid, that police just stopped that man's bloodline
Yeah.
coming directly from his daddy. He just cut that out. That's like some white slavery master shit. We could take it back to the movie Immortals. I don't know if y'all ever seen that, but
With the movie Immortals? Yeah.
yeah,
Or
the
the Greek gods
one
and all that?
king,
Yeah.
the one king Hyperion, what
Yeah.
he did to the traitor dude. He spread his legs and he hit him in his balls with a sledgehammer, right? And he
Yeah.
said, "Your bloodline ends tonight."
Oh
He
yeah.
told him that he a traitor and a sellout, but he said, "Okay, but your bloodline ends tonight." He turned him into a hermaphrodite.
Mm.
And what was Hyperion doing with them people? Sleeping with them. It's
Mm.
deeper than rap. That's
Mm.
how I see it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they put a lot of stuff in movies, bro.
Uh-huh. It. I live in a realm of balance. It's only the truth and lies. That's it. That's it. It's only truth and lies.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I'm letting y'all. So,
Mm.
What's that, bro? You breaking
Mm.
up a little bit.
Oh no,
I
I
said
ain't
I'm
saying
on the
nothing. I just
road. I'm letting y'all free build. I'm on the road, so it's on y'all.
yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to hop off in just a second, but man, I will say this, bro. It's been a pleasure being on this one, bro. It's been a wealth of knowledge, and I know, um, for the purpose of reason why I want to come on here, like for the benefit of a lot of people that follow my channel or whatever. I go over a lot of historical type stuff, various different parts of the world, but I didn't think it would be in a better way to kind of I hadn't covered the United States, right? It wasn't really no better way than, what I'm saying, have some firsthand stuff, some oral history, some of the stuff y'all brothers have laid down, man. So this is priceless. So I appreciate the invitation on this.
Yeah,
Now,
likewise.
most definitely. We all appreciate you too. Like Cuz is saying, but you can join us anytime, bro. I'm on every Saturday at 11:30. Started a little late this week, but anytime you want to join, bro, I can just send you the link and we can just do it how we did it this time.
Yeah, do
And we
that.
ain't just gotta build on some indigenous stuff. We'll learn in other facets of life and stuff like that. It ain't just no tribal stuff. If you want to talk on some New and stuff, we can do that. You want to talk on some other stuff, we can do that. You want to talk about whatever.
Matter
We
of
can
fact,
do that.
Cuz, he raised me, right?
Yeah, I heard you when you said it and
Oh,
stuff
you
like
heard
that.
me? Yeah, facts,
Yeah,
We
facts.
get you up on game. It ain't no thing, man.
right,
Definitely.
right, 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 right. Cause hey, I don't know what you know.
I
I
I
don't know what you know.
I
You
put it
want
to you.
to sharpen each other iron. That's it. Cause I don't know what you know.
I put it to you like this on the Nawabian side. I just say this: I'm 41 right now. I joined AEO when I was 19. So that's just, you know what I'm
Damn.
saying? Yeah. So
So when you get online next time, don't be surprised when I be like Raul back.
I'm gonna hit you with a Wahoo back right back, bro. I mean, yeah, it's in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That's all I know, bro.
For real,
So
for
with
real.
that, I am going to close the session. I enjoyed everyone's time. Thank you all for tuning in to the new name platform, IBAX. Guale Origins is no longer. We are taking this back to the ancient world. Before
Right.
maize, before the vibration. So again, thank you. Please leave a like and share this video with one person that you love because I know they'll like it and be able to share it with someone they love. So I'll see you all next week, 11:30. Peace.
Right. Yo.